Welcome, everybody. I'm creating the third presentation in the Advanced Dungeons and Dynamics 365 Bare Bones Configuration Guide series now. And this is, for those of you that haven't seen this, because it's only been two already, then what I'm doing is I'm going out and I'm setting up Dynamics 365 from scratch. So I'm working through all the content that I've been creating for many years on all the steps that are required to start from nothing, a blank database of Dynamics 365, and configure all of the steps along the way. Now, this what we're doing as we're building this out, we're going to start from the configuration of the organization or the legal entity, and this is something that we've already started doing as we're moving through. Now, if anyone's really interested in looking at this and doing more of this, then we can. I've got some apprentice labs that are exactly the same as what I'm going to be using here for the setup, that allow us to go out and do this sort of like in a self-paced manner. And you can work through the same documentation that I'm using if you want to. So if anyone wants to do that, then just drop us a note and we'll work out how we can make that available to you. So let me pull up the dynamics here. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be setting up a number of different areas within the system over the next 20 or so minutes. I'm trying to keep this within like 30 minutes because no one likes a long presentation. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to have the continuation of the Waterdeep Trading Company setup. Now, if you haven't seen this, then what we did in the previous two sections is that we went out and we set up the Waterdeep Trading Company legal entity. And up until now, we've been setting up some of the information like the address books and some of the party configurations and the naming conventions that we have. But today we're going to start setting up some additional information around the Waterdeep Trading Company, which is going to be around some of the workflow parameters and so forth. And what we're going to do is we're going to work through my refined documentation. And this is also me making sure that the same documentation that I'm giving you all is valid and it works, and we can actually learn from it. So we'll be refining this next iteration of the training along the way. And over the next little while, we're going to talk about the setting up of default email templates. And then we're going to set up some of the workflow parameters so that we can use those templates. Then also we'll create some new workers, and then we'll associate them with the workflow worker user. So those are some of the things that we're going to set up and we're going to look at as we're moving through. Now, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at the email templates and setting these up. Now, whenever we send out an email or whenever we send out a workflow task, and also emails in general, then it's going to have a certain format to it. And what we're going to do is we're going to define what that format should be. And that's what we do with the email templates. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out and I'm going to find that template, and I'm going to set a default template up, and we can look at how all of that's configured. All of these steps are sort of the base level. They're building up until we get to the exciting parts, which are general ledger and the customers and the vendors and the products. But what I want to do is I want to find the organizational email templates. Now, I'm using the menu search because I like searching through this. This isn't on a workspace that I know of, so this is one way we can find it. Don't do a search for email templates because that's going to take you to the sales and marketing email templates, which is not what you want right now. So they're used for a different purpose. But we're going to find the organizational email templates here. And then also, if we want to, we could find that through the master menu, and here's the email templates as well. So when we open this up, it's going to take us to into the email template maintenance form. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a new email ID or a template ID. I'd like to always have like a default template ID, but what we can do is we can create additional ones of these that we can use for different purposes. So for example, we could have some for different marketing campaigns. We could choose to have different email templates for different workflows if we want as well. And I'm just going to create a default email template. Then the Dungeon Master is going to be the main person sending these out, although we can change these and send them out from other users, but right now I've only got one email set up. And I'm going to make this email go to the Dungeon Master or DM at AD&D365.com. As a side note, this is a live email address. If anyone wants to go out and email me or email the project, then this is one way that you can access this. Now, what we can also do is choose our default language. So we could choose to have our language in English. So we could find the English US, we could find English New Zealand for my home country. Also, and let's do that for now. So we'll create one for, no, let's stay in form, in a character. What we're going to do is we're going to choose the Faerûn common language as our default language. So this is the language that's used throughout the realm as sort of like standard language. And then this is going to have, now we've got a default template, but we don't have any email template that we're going to use here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out and create a new email message. So this is going to be common. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose to have the subject to be subject. Now, what that means is that whatever the subject is of the workflow emails, whatever we configure within the workflow is going to be the subject of the email. If we hard code this, then it's always going to have the same subject in there. So this gives us a little bit more flexibility. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go out and choose the edit for the body. And we're going to browse and we're going to find our email template. Now, if we look at that email template, then that's just going to be an HTML page or message that has placeholders for the message that's going to be changed based off what gets created. And also we're going to see that there's links down here to the server name and so forth that we can use. So I'm just going to select that template and I'm going to upload it. Then just go OK. So that's going to update the message for us. If I wanted to create another one for Alvin, then we can just choose a different language from the drop-down list and then have different variations of these email templates based off what we're trying to, who we're communicating with and what their preferred language is for the setup. So again, I could go subject, and I could create another one for Alvin. So what I've got is I've got all of these different languages here. If I wanted to have other defaults, then I could set those up and I could save them. So what we've done here is we've gone out and we've configured a default email template that we're going to use within our email setup. So if we look at this, then we've gone through and we've followed through the instructions of the setup, and then also we've uploaded the default template that we have. We can also, in this case, we've got additional examples where we could have a research email template and we can set up some other items. We could have a new template here that is for the retail notice. In this case, I went backwards by accident. And this allows us to have messages in different formats for when we send out to retail customers or retail notifications. Now that we've got our email or our default email template configured, then we can move on, and what we're going to do is we're going to set up some of the other different parameters. And in this case, we're going to modify the workflow parameters. So the workflow parameters, if we look for these, then, and we want the organization administration workflow parameters, which, if we go over to the workflow, let's see where that was. So that's going to be in the system administration workflow. Let's see if I can find that. There. Then there's workflow parameters set up here within the view as well. So if we open that up, this is going to define how we want to send out our email notifications. And this is just going to be a quick change that we do. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to edit this. And I'm going to choose the default template that we created. So now whenever a workflow is sent out, it's going to use this default template. Before, it didn't have a default template, so now we're just configuring it. So a small change, but a vital change as we're going out and sort of setting this up. So this is a really quick step that we can go through and set these up. If we wanted to have or change or might have seasonal workflow notifications, and we can actually change these email templates along the way. So now that we've set up our some of the workflow configurations, then let's do one last step before we complete today, and that's the creation of a new worker record. So what we're going to do is what we want to do is create a new person. And this is going to be a worker that we can then use for authorization and approval. It's going to be the main worker that we use in the system. We're going to hire them, and then in the next step, we're going to link them to our users so that it's our default worker within the application. So what we're going to do is we want to find our workers. And we want to find this within human resources. So as you can see, as we're setting up this base information, we're sort of jumping around and setting up different items in different areas. But these are all core base components that we need to work through. So we want to access the workers, or if I go into the human resources, then we can actually see the workers here, and we can open up the workers within this. There's other ways that we can access the worker records through personnel management and so forth, but I just want to go out and create a worker. Now, keep in mind also there's pending workers and past workers and employees and contractors. Depending on what we want to do, then we may have employees, we may have workers, we may have contractors. But for this case, we want to set up the workers. Now, since this is the Waterdeep Trading Company, then what we want to do is we want to have that worker set up, configured primarily as the owner of the business. So right now we don't have any workers. So one thing I like to do is I can say who is the and this assistant that I have here, this GPT assistant, is going back to all the documentation that we've got, and also all the project documentation that's being created. And what it should do is it's finding that out, and it's actually found that Greta Ironfist is the owner of this company. So this is the worker that we're going to use. So I like using the language models to go out and help me sort of build up some of this information. And also it makes it a little bit more fun. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new worker. And it's going to pop up with the main information for the worker. So this is going to be Greta Iron Fist. Don't make the mistake of putting the last name and the last name prefix. Sometimes it's a little bit tempting, or it seems like it should be where you put it, but put it in the last name. That's just a personal lesson that I've learned. And we're going to start them working at the beginning of the year. And we don't have any categories or any employee types yet because we haven't set up HR. And we also don't have any positions associated with this because we don't have any HR. All we've got is the worker that we're going out and managing. So what we can do is we can just go out and hire Greta into the organization. Now we're going to flesh this out later on. We're going to add more information to it. We're going to add a position, compensation. We'll add so we could add skills and certifications and other information. But for now, we just need one user that is going to be our active user within the legal entity. And we've got an employee ID number that's associated with this as well. So this is the quick step that we go out to create our initial set of workers. Now, as we move on, we can create other workers exactly the same way and hire them on. We don't have any workflows for the worker onboarding right now. We don't have onboarding checklists and things like that, but we're just a small company starting up. So for now, that's just fine. And so what we're going to do is just choose your worker, choose the first name and the last name, the employment start date, and then move through. We can also, if we wanted to, follow the examples, we could create Elora Moonshale and then start her hire date on whenever we want within the system. So the final thing that we're going to do here within this example, before we stop and let you all digest this before we move on to some of the other areas in the next session, is we're going to link this user or this worker with our user account. Now this is important because when we log in, if, for example, we need to do an approval, then this is going to automatically use this worker for us. Also, if we go into the employee self-service portal or anything like this, then the worker is going to show up there. We may try that as a final example, but this is going to be a system administration action that we're performing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work through this, and I'm going to set up work through the users. So if I go to my users, and I can find them again through the search menu, I can go into the system administration if I want to, and open up the users. But also if I choose the system administration workspace, which I can find here through the menu, or as one of the main tiles on the menu workspace. If I click on that, then what that's going to do is it's going to take me to system administration, and it's going to have a tile here for managing the users. So if I manage the users, then we'll notice that we've got our user ID, which is our dungeon master. And if we go in and look at the worker ID, then the administrator user that we set up previously has the option to have a person associated with it. Now, when I do a search on the person, then I'll be able to find all of the parties that are associated with this. And I can select Greta Iron Fist. Now, maybe later on what we should do is we should create a worker which is just for the dungeon master, because Greta is probably going to be the financial user in the system. But if just as a let me save that. Just as a little bit of a side note, when we go out and when we associate a user to or a worker to the user, as I've done here, then you'll notice that you can't change the person. You can't sort of switch them around and change it to a different user. there's an option up here, which is maintain versions, where we can see the worker that was associated with the user, and we can delete these or add new ones in here at any time, so that we can go out and readjust these and readjust the worker that's associated with any user. But for now, I just want to have Greta as my main worker associated with my admin user when I come in. Now, if we want to, now that we've gone out and set up the worker, then that means that from this user that I logged in as, I can actually go into the employee self-service workspace. I just did a search for employee self-service here, and we'll see that we now have an employee associated with our worker with a lot of information that's associated with her, and we can go and modify the personal details if we want to and tweak that. But we're not going to do that right now. We're going to sort of stop here and let you all sort of digest this and work through the past 20 minutes or so of setup that we've done in the system. So this is what we've done today. Is we're continuing with this setup. We're continuing with the base sort of building blocks that we're going to use as we go out and when we get to the more advanced areas like general ledger and payables and receivables inside of the financials. And we've also created our initial worker, and we've associated with the user so that then our workflows will work and will continue through. This allows us to do a number of things, and if we don't do this with the at the beginning, then things just start degrading and they don't work. So that's why we're working through these examples within the system. So hopefully this was interesting, and I apologize if anyone joined the previous part 3 live event, which I had to refresh. But hopefully this is interesting, gives you all an idea of some of the setups. If you want to go out and do this yourself, then we've got a set of 10 of these labs that we can make available to apprentices through Patreon, but because these aren't free, they cost a little bit to get up and running. But you could go through and you could start working through all of the setup yourself, and even move ahead as we move through using the same documentation that we've got set up in the system. And then hopefully that will give you an idea or a better appreciation of how Dynamics works, because that's the main thing. We want to show you how to set up everything rather than doing what you normally do, which is start off with like the USMF database or the base demo data that comes with the system. You don't understand all of the individual sort of setup that is built up on to get you to this end result. So it should make you a better consultant and also give you training and also be a little bit fun. So that's my hope. I think this is fun. So if anyone has any questions, then pop them in the chat. We're posting this on YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn. And if anyone has any problems, because there was someone reported that they had problems with one of the with yesterday's live event, then just drop me a note and we'll see if we can fix this. But we'll see how that goes. So until the next live event, which is probably going to be next week, then have a great day, and I hope this is useful to you all.